Hello, my fellow YouTubers. Glad to be back here. Happy pre-New Year. Got some studies here I'm working on. Um, Theories I want to bring out there to you guys and people who haven't followed me, people who have, and people who are about to follow me. This is a journey I'm going to bring you through. All right. So I think to start off, we'll start off with what's in the medium. I mean, Tesla always talked about. I'm going to set you up here so where I can have a stand maybe. I'll turn you around and see what's behind you guys, actually. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. It's been a long journey here. About 10 years I've been on YouTube and still feel like I know nothing. Welcome aboard. Leave your comments right now. Please introduce yourself if you're watching. I appreciate it. If not, welcome aboard the journey. Um, I'm working on a project that's really dear to me, and it's the new EV system that's coming into America and throughout the world. But you got your major cars that are involved, companies that make cars, and what they make and how they do EVs, how they charge them, how we as a public look at the charging system and where it is, how efficient, how long it takes to charge an EV, and what do you do with your time while you're charging. Um, that's just part of the thoughts that drove me to make this video based on what I'm working on that I'm about to expose to you guys that possibly could be a new car. The theory behind this introduction is cars are the main driven mechanism that causes too much carbon to be in the air due to their exhaust, their emissions. With that being said, new EV cars should be emission eaters. They can contribute in a small donation, like I say, and not bringing more on, which I call zero carbon footprint. But you can also, in my theory here, which you guys are going to love because behind you right now, I have a lot of a plot of lot, a land plot. I'll call it. You know, it's something that's represents a plot of land and what we're going to do with it. And before we get there, and I'll turn the camera around. I wanted to be in front of the camera because I wanted to talk to you. Um, the evolution of EVs, thanks to Tesla, who took a major risk to bring it out there in the market, has evolved and became 10 years in advance of the competition. How come I don't see comments? Do I need to touch something here? Because I want to see. Anybody talking? Come on, guys. I mean, am I like talking to my freaking self here? How come? All right. So if nobody's talking, I don't see the comments. I can't respond back. So I'm just going to keep talking because I don't see anything. It just may. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Learn more. There we go. All right. I'm in. Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob Dole. I just want to make sure there's people out there. I can see there's 5 people, and a bunch of people popped in and out. But It is really nice to know I'm really talking to people. Hello, Bob. Hey, Bob. So, uh, why are you at my channel? First question. What brings you to my channel? Hi, Gregory. Yep. Think about that. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. So humans breathe carbon monoxide and put out carbon dioxide as a byproduct. That's our emissions. Bam, in, out, right? Power in, power out. 6 people in. You guys are going to love tonight. This is going to be a pretty good conversation. When I turn the table around, you guys are going to be freaking blown away here. Didn't see who just showed up, but I'm going to see what that was. Let me see if I can. There you go, Bob. Sorry about the delay. Bad internet. For me, probably, because I got so many magnets around me. My workshop is like a Tesla workshop / everything you can imagine. Have you guys ever... All right, I guess I could... Yep. Let me go ahead and give you a peek see. If you haven't been in my workshop and you're just seeing me for the first time, here's my workshop. We're going to flip you around. So I'll be back. Hold on. What do you mean? Help me if you can. Oh, here we go. Camera flip. Bam. Workshop. So, I'm talking to you in front of this, and we'll get to this. SIG generators, crystals, all these elements, cool stuff. My plan, when I'm working on my plot, the wood is my land plot. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. And then back here in my workshop, you got my Edley Scallon wheel, which I built, tore it down at least 100 times, rebuilt it, inverted it, everything I can think about. It's just magnets, very low potential magnets. Another topic in Ed, it's pretty cool stuff though, because if it wasn't for Edley Scallon, I wouldn't be in this in 10, 12 years now. And in deep on most of my work, I would say once I had balls enough, what's up, Mike? Once I had balls enough to get into high voltage, I got into this guy, Tesla, Nikola Tesla, not Elon Musk. But we were talking about Elon Musk, and we're going to get back to Elon Musk with his business and EVs, because that's what I'm interested in. But right, I've done so much work with Tesla work that I understand most of his work so much that I understand he had a car that ran I like that. So you're in California, and with Bruce, the flywheel, nothing. I was just learning about the flywheel. I was just learning. I literally 10 years ago when I came across Ed, and I came across Ed 30 years ago in 1980. So that's what 1983, I think. That's so far ago. But when I got back into Ed in 2000 and say 8, 9, and 10, just to learn about electricity. That's what the flywheel. I just learned about the flywheel. Let's just say this. Magnets. Everybody loves magnets. I mean, look, come on. How could you not love magnets? Everybody loves magnets. But it's a give and take. You get into Einstein's theory, you really realize that energy in, energy out. So no matter which way you flip it, it really is about understanding what's your end game, and your end game don't have to be an end game because all the professionals, the educated people out there who know not so much physics, but more electrical or nuclear engineering, they're so smart they overlook the scratch in between. I'm in the scratch in between guy. You know what I mean? I'm the guy that looks to say, okay, ooh, what is this? Well, this came out back in 1907. They found out if you take wire and take a battery, 1907, they had dry batteries, 6 cell, 6 volt, 6 volt dry cell. They would take it and put it in one end, come out the other end, and they would connect that to the negative, be positive and negative, okay? In that, they realized when they did studies that it became, when they took a compass like this, they realized the compass here, the energy in itself had a magnetic different presence. So, and became a nodal point in the center. This is cool stuff. And I don't see any comments happen now from you guys, so I can feed back. But in the nodal points, these are places where your dynamic pressure is not there. I wouldn't say disagree is a great word to use because I'm a tough guy from New Jersey myself. The wheel has many purposes. I'm not discounting its wheel. The same. The Gauss is the same. The very. I want to give these magnets a 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. They're like a 3.5. But in the unique way of these magnets, in their makeup, alkyl magnets with a unique element that so far friends of mine who studied these magnets and took them to universities have a 3% inert ingredient that they can't precisely tell you what it is. So Ford, when he made these magnets, do you guys understand these magnets and where they were made? 1907, Henry Ford had electrical engineer. Can you guys hear me clear? Please tell me yes, because I don't want to ramble here and tell you stories about the magnets and what's inside of them and what they're really, really good at, because they're good at different things. And Ed was right. I mean, listen, you can take this son of a bitch right here. Holy shit, you can take this. All right, good. You can hear me, Bob. Okay. You can take this, neodymium, 52. This is a 52, guys. Listen, 52 1-inch square. I'm no joking. This will fuck you up. Okay. So the magnet history here, which is so important. And I'm going to bring you over here. In fact, let me turn some lights on back there because I have my computer and other stuff running, so I disconnected. So that's going off, and I'm going to give us more light. Anybody like Bob? I know this is May. I know the wind blew it back, but Bob Ross is the key. He's talking about power. I got some light here. All right. So good. Get rid of these little things around here. And pretty much you got the magnets. So I got all these magnets here And these are my extras. I probably have 3 more dozen. So anybody ever wants to build their own wheel, I probably can give you enough magnets to make the same wheel I have, but it's probably about 5,200 US dollars. Shipped and everything, if you want. I got 3 sets. They're hard to come by. These magnets, the history of these magnets. Can you still hear me back here in the cupboards? These, I'm going to grab like 3 or 4 so we can get into them over here. As you can see, they're sticking together, so they're magnets, right? And let me get the compass. All right, so the history of these magnets. 1907, Henry Ford. Yeah, these have, all right, this one has number 2. And that says what? Motherfucker. Number Ford, huh? That's Ford right there. You guys see that? Can you guys see that clear? That's a Ford Magnum. At one time in 1907, this piece of metal here was sitting inside a flywheel. And the flywheel, best thing for my peeps, is a drawn out explanation. Let me give it to you. This is awesome. So the way so when Henry Ford, oh my God, this is a rant, but this is awesome. You ready for this, guys? Please, somebody say something back to me so I know somebody's out there, because I know you're there, but give me some fucking hello or something. God damn it. So anyway, Henry Ford had the choice to go electric or gas. People know about that option with Henry Ford back in 1907. Please, somebody say something. The chain. So, Bruce, you're off topic, but hi, Bruce. Chain wise, you're jumping topics, but in Edley Scallon chain, he's showing the universal. All right, so Greg, I gotta get back. Hey, don't distract me there. But back to fuck. It's so hard to stick to a story when everybody's doing different chants. So I'm going to get back to it then. When you have Henry Ford making these magnets back in 1907, he had the opportunity. Here we go. Here's a car Henry Ford is involved in. You know, we're not the first, USA. Across the pond over here, you got Europe. I know. I thank you guys. Because I lost track there for a second. Listen, look at my table, guys. I got solar. I got transistors. They're not transistors. These are crystals. I got all kinds of stuff. So let me get focused here. So back to the car with the EVs and with these magnets. So when Henry Ford developed these magnets, his name is Ed Spider Huff. All right, Hugf. No, my spelling's wrong on Huff. Ed Spider Huff. He was the electrical engineer for Henry Ford. So we're getting back to the root of the story. Thank you for pulling me back in, guys. He was an electrical engineer. He developed Henry Ford in the beginning of his development of cars. He had his motor right over here, and what he wanted was to be able to have lights. and maybe something inside of lights over here. That was it in the beginning. And what he wanted was a charging system. So here on the backside of the motor, he created a flywheel. Yes, he did, Mike. And listen, Mike, this is going to get serious deep shit in your pants. You're going to love this. So before you guys have an orgasm tonight, just fucking sit back, have your popcorn, whatever you're doing. This is fucking cool shit. And do me a favor, give me every like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You're all watching. I don't see anybody popping up in a comment. Shout out, because sometimes this shit goes nowhere. And I ain't wasting my time here. You know what I mean? I'm putting it out. So what I'm working on right now is looking at these magnets. All right, Bob. There we go. Thanks, Bruce. Stay focused. Because listen, there's a lot of guys. I won't get too caught up in your conversation. You guys can talk. I won't look, but what I'm going to just put it out there for you guys. So on these magnets, Henry Ford made these magnets 1907, okay? And they were made specifically in Summons by electrical engineer. His name was Ed Spider Huff. By the way, I'm going to end the story on, not end it now, but the end of the story is Ed Spider Huff retired at, anybody know about Ed Spider Huff? Look him up right now as we're talking. You'll find out. He was the electrical engineer for Henry Ford. He retired in Homestead, Florida. He retired the same time Ed Lee Skallern was there. Now listen, guys. Listen, this gets crazy, guys. Come on now. Ed Lee Skallern. Ed Lee Skallern. These magnets are in Ed Lee Skallern's wheel. The guy from Henry Ford retired in Homestead, Florida. I want you right now to rant. Everybody, tell me what your thoughts are. How fucking ironic is that? And then I'm going to bring you into the magnets, their uniqueness, studied by universities. So, Ed, yeah, right? We got two Eds living in Homestead, Florida, the same time. So the mechanical engineer, not mechanical, the electrical engineer for Ford, the primary, the one that put the whole electrical system together for Henry Ford, 1907 to 1917, I say around that time. Then he retired and moved to Homestead. Ed Lee Skallern, 1927 was completed. Coral Castle. Think about the move with Ed Lee Skallern. Ed did have his wheel back in the first part of his Florida journey, moving from western of the United States. Can we get back to all right. You see where I can go, dude. It's a rabbit hole. It really is. So I'm going to stop right there. Let's get back just to the magnets. But do you guys understand the significance of these magnets, the developer who made these magnets, and Ed Lee Skallern who has them? Yes, the V magnets. And Ed Lee Skallern, that says Ford on them, but Ed Lee Skallern had his best friend was the engineer. And also another best friend of Ed Lee Skallern was an RCA radio engineer. It was their competition. They came down to visit Ed. I know. You got it, Bruce, very much. Thank you. There's a lot here. I'm just going to lay it out tonight. We're going to just work on, take a deep breath, stay focused. So these magnets are very unique. And the reason they are unique is, one, I just explained briefly, and I got stories about them together. But briefly is that the connection between Lee Scallon and Coral Castle and the wheel. And Henry Ford, his main engineer who designed his electrical system, look him up, Ed Spider Huff. This guy was so unique and beautiful. He was pulled out of brothels. Henry Ford, quick story, not to get distracted. You guys are going to love this. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? This is a great story. A fucking great story I got to tell you about Henry Ford. Hunting down Ed Spider Huff to work on a problem that just happened in Ford's electrical system, and they had to find the chief engineer, and he was disappeared for 4 weeks. Anybody, you can hear me. So whether or not you heard the story from me from years or not, but the fascinating story is Ed Spider Huff, he was a ladies' man. If you want to find him, he was drinking in brothels, okay, guys? So Henry Ford was sending his henchmen out, and he had a bunch. Trust me, everybody knows. And he sent them out to go get him. They find him. They went to all the brothels where he was. They hunt him down and get him, bring him in and say, okay, we got a problem. Figure it out. He was like, Steinmetz is already dead. It's like Steinmetz. Steinmetz is Tesla's. Tesla figured it all out. No, Tesla put it all out there, and Steinmetz figured it all out. Not only did he figure it out, he analyzed it to the finest degree. Just like a crystal, right to the crystal point. But back to the point. So they used to have to find Ed Spider Huff out in these brothels. They bring him back in, and he'd do his job. So when he retired, after all that, he was in Homestead, and Ed Lee Scallon was his friend. And what did they have? All the magnets, these magnets right here. And you know what? This magnet in my hand could be legitimately could be the magnet that Ed or Ed Spider Huff or one of their apprentice held in their hand, not just an assembly line that says Ford #2 magnet. If you look at the magnet, we're going to get into it's what's in it, okay? So if you look at here at the compass, here's your south, here's your north, okay? Galveston readings, listen, these are minute. But what Ed showed us is you can stack these motherfuckers. So let's do this. Let's look at something. I got questions for you before I even get into my stuff. See, this is all. All right. Can I say this? I love you all. All into this stuff, no matter what it is. It ain't all about Ed. It's about the other ingredients. It's about all the studies. Look at the instruments. It's about making frequencies and responders and seeing it all. It's about knowing your ingredients. This is deep. So back to the magnet here. You got Ed Lee Scallon's magnet, which is Ed Spider Huff's. I know, this is crazy. This is crazy, Nick. So here we go. This is crazy. So here we know we got that's a north, that's a south, right? Wait. That's a south. Wait. That's a south, that's a north. We're going to take look at this other magnet. This one here really doesn't have any, but let's see if it has poles. North? No. So we're going to discount this. But it does have indentations, but it's weak. So it needs to be charged. Let's grab this other one here. Let's look at it. Oh, here we go. Indentations. So we know it's made by Ford, but it doesn't understand. There's a north, south. Okay. And there you go. There's your south. There's your north. So let's increase the way you. One thing I have done that Ed has probably done is make small dipoles like laminates. In Ed's wheel that he left at at Homestead, Florida, in Coral Castle, all the magnets are shit. All the magnets in his wheel are lined up. I got these yellow, I got these solids. So that's probably my south and that's my north. No, that's my north, that's my south. So they're all lined up, right? We're not even the inside topic here of his wheel, the neutrals, is unique. I'm telling you, there's a lot here to even talk about. But I gotta stay focused when I talk to you guys. So back to the magnet. When you take just the pole itself, I'm gonna get into this one itself. You got north here and you got south. And then we're gonna take this south and add another south to it, is what Ed did. So here's south on here. So we're gonna flip it over and add it on top. So that increases the strength. Now watch the responsiveness all of a sudden of this compass. All of a sudden, here's your south, there's your north, there's your south, there's your north, there's your south. They're magnets, guys, but I want to tell you what they're made of. They're alkyl magnets. They're made of cobalt, they're made of iron, and they're made of copper. That wheel is so identical. I rebuilt this over 1,000 times. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been to Coral Castle over 25 times. It is just a completed circuit. But this is one of 10 wheels. One of 10 wheels. So if you look back at previous videos I made, I started flipping them. Now, what do we know in electric? Yes, that's it. Cobalt, iron, and copper. So what do we know? Back in that day, very hard to get these materials, very expensive. So what do we know? Let's do this. We know this is a north. That's a south, right? That's a south, that's a north. Let's back them up. Let's reverse. So when we take a capacitor and we swap the capacitor over, think about what's happened when I flip this magnet poles over. All of a sudden, you got south, and you have south still here, and you have north and north here. So what I find fascinating, these magnets, you can swap the poles in these. They're not biased. They're biased in their makeup of their alignment of their molecules. Let's get a little deeper. Look at these guys. They're stuck together. Look at them. All right, so let's see where they're at. We got south, north. And does it say forward? When you can see indentations on these, you know they're factory made. Look at that. All right. Let's see if these do that. They strong? Wow, these are weak. They don't even do that. These guys are kind of good charge, right? So you got south, you got north, and you got south and north. Let's flip these poles. Maybe we'll see a difference. All right, so here you got north, and here you got south. We're going to flip the poles. Oh, yeah, they stuck together real good. So what happened is this became a situation like this. Yeah. Where are my buddies? Here they go. Yeah. Look at these. Neodymium 52s flat, 1.5s. Oh, no, I don't want them because that's going to screw everything up. In fact, I think these are so fragile. I think the bottom broke. See that? I'm going to stick them out there. But we're going to bring them out. We're going to bring them out and show a couple things in study here. So these stick together, and you got doubled up. So I would think in capacitors, when you start putting capacitors together, you increase the voltage, but not the amperage. Now, I would think when you do what I just did here, they stick together pretty good. I mean, they are pretty good magnetized, and these won't be. So if we come over here with this and get them involved, they don't have it. This one. So you increase what I'm getting at. If you're dealing with batteries or something like that, you would be having more amperage by flipping over the poles. You're increasing your voltage but losing your amperage. So if you go the opposite there, and if you don't flip them, you're increasing your amperage. So what Edley's kind of did, he went ahead and decided to stack more together. So he's got 5 together, okay? And they're all going to be the same pole. There's your north, there's your south. There's your north, there's your south. There's your north, there's your south. He's got 2, 4, 5. So this becomes more of, I would say, surface space maybe, but on the backside is something that I've done a lot of studies on. Ed calls it not much going on in the neutral. But what he doesn't talk about, what if the neutral was the source where the energy came from? So if you were to have outside poles, concentrations on the outside. If you look here, you see a groove, don't you? So over there, on out is your magnet. There's your south pole. Strong. All your molecules are strangled and sitting condensed in that one area. On this side, you have the same thing. You have all your north. Over here, you have your south. Concentrated just on that one side. Right here, it even says north. Holy shit. That's the first magnet I've ever seen that says an N on it, imprinted on it. So these were the charging magnets for Henry Ford. Get back to this we were talking about. Sorry, guys. So back to when Henry Ford said he needs to charge Windows. He decided to get Ed Spiderhuff. Ed Spiderhuff so happens to be friends of Ed's, and so happens to be retired at that point. So he's a lot older than Ed. And Ed had a good friend there. So these magnets are very important. Not only can the poles be changed and flip back to their natural pole, if that's marked N from Ford, that means that this will always snap back. Its natural process is to be north. So the molecules that are aligned in here are aligned in a certain degree to where these ends here can be full strength. When they're weak, they're aligned this way. They're 15 degrees out of angle. That's why we'll talk about bismuth another day, how it's a paramagnetic, doesn't stick, but it will levitate stuff, and it'll do strange things. That's why I brought this out to melt. But in Ed's, or in these magnets, the special thing about them is that they're able to be flip poles. They're able to be super strength, gorilla strength, by increased energy. And the energy that can be increased in these magnets is up to you of what you're looking to do in your end game. The energy does flow. And when you get over to the wheel, in itself, when you turn it, there becomes a flow in itself. Now you're taking static energy, which is loops like a sunflower, and it becomes movement. There's your movement. You guys got me? It all of a sudden becomes movement. Now, if you look at these magnets, all north out, right, on the Bedini wheel, it's going to start following, right? Only because there's a yin and yang going on in there. But if you get moving it fast, where all of a sudden magnetism on the outside skin surface does not apply. The faster you move the wheel, like Earth or anything, magnetism to the outside does really just no longer apply. So that means that the wheel itself needs to be slower. Look, it needs to be slower. Not only does it need to be slower, it needs to be able to go, and in order for the cogs to move, right? They all need to read each other. So it goes to show you in space itself, magnetism is not the propagation of magnetism is only through, you see that? It is only through propagation of magnetism is only through sunlight. And sunlight itself, it has to slow down in order for it to become particles of matter, for it to make sense for us to understand it. But anyway, back to over here. So we have our magnets here. And with the magnets here, what I found special about these was when you have a car, back to my carbon here. And so Henry Ford decided to go with gasoline. He decided not to go electric. He became friends with the tycoon. What is his name? His name is Oil Tycoon, which is in New York. What's the name of that building? Help me here now. Talking back in the time when you got J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller. Thank you. There you go. Thank you, Nick. So you got Rockefeller and him got together and say, Rockefeller said, listen, I got a byproduct. I'm making oil. I got this thing. It's at the surface, polluting the world. And we found out we can use it in gasoline engines. Okay, so that was the direction and the direction. But electric at that point could have been started. It could have been that. It wasn't for Rockefeller being maybe one of 4 or 5 that ruled the whole United States, probably the world in wealth. We know that J.P. Morgan bailed out the U.S. government and saved them from bankruptcy by loaning them money. So the powers back then were corporate. And they always been corporate and always will be corporate. So the fight against corporate is just a lost fight. But to be corporate is to eat it from the inside. And the way to do that is to counterbalance what they try to balance. And back then, the mistake was made, and this was made in 1907. I'm going to give you one more story. You guys ready for your bedtime story? Anybody there? I got your bedtime story. You're going to love this. Ed Spider Huff. I'll post this up where I read it if you want to hear the story. It's a true story about how the world became gasoline versus electric. So what happened was Ed Spider Huff was engineered or summoned to engineer the flywheel, right, for the generator. When he first set the system up, he had more magnets in place, not 16. He had more. Who knows It could be the amount that Ed Lee Scowen has in place. But there was so much perpetual motion going from the 2,000 RPMs and the magnets that the whole chassis wanted to lift off the ground. So at that time, it was Ed Spider Huff that put a report out to Henry Ford that electric was the way to go. But because Henry Ford was being sued by Europe on copyrights of the car, and he did win in the United States, anti-gravity at that moment through electricity was capable in 1907. It never happened. Put away, rested, went to sleep. But what I will say is that gasoline is still here. And here we are, pissing in the wind with electric. I love it. I'm caught up into it. You guys are going to be fascinated by my plot of land I have behind me that I'm showing in this form. It is a solar charging station along with all this ingredients on top of it is nothing, it disappears. Everything will be set up on this to be a model to where the car pulls in, it charges. The batteries are flipped out, actually, and it just goes on. People who don't have the same cars will be able to charge. It'll be a new world here. And what they do in their time at the place and how long it takes, this is new United States, the new car system. So I hope you guys can kind of appreciate the theory that I'm throwing out there. You'd be fascinated. And it also, the cells that I'm creating are taking air in the front of the car and is purifying the air to become clean air is the exhaust by allowing CO2 from discharge and N2 from discharge from carbon. So we'll suck in all the metals, all the particles. We'll also in these cells will be a particle accelerator. It'd be nice to take electric cars and make them eat up the bad that the carbon monoxide does from our previous past relatives. You follow me? Let's clean up what our relatives taught us, the troubadours. So, let's go back to the nitty-gritty. Oxygen is our air. Hydrogen, water. Compositions of air. Percentages. Compositions of water, seawater. So we had cylinders beside these cylinders that takes the air, purifies the air. The exhaust of the car is pure air. No longer exhaust of carbon. So what you would go from here, I just get emotional because it's self-preference, kind of cleaning up the environment that our past troubadours had allowed us to have. And by creating cells that clean the air, taking carbon, taking the difference of potential, creating electricity. So what will happen is this cell will create electric. The metal anode in the front will be the receptor of the carbon. It will, the electrolyte in the middle will be compressed air. And then the end result will be clean emissions, as well as providing a cathode on the other side to produce electricity, which would be enough to allow the car to be self-sufficient. It's self-sufficient. So when it moves, it creates its own energy, as well as cleans the air. So the plan here was to make Florida the first state that will have the cars that will allow a clean, totally clean travel space. My nose is running. So anyway, guys, leave your comments. Hopefully you enjoyed. Sorry to kind of like fall apart there a little bit, but I'm passionate. This is good stuff. This is serious good stuff. The cells don't need to be Tesla cells where they're taking acid and moving as an electrolyte. The electrolyte can be compressed air in vacuum, which amplifies the movement in between space and time, which would be right here in between the receiver and so with all the metals, I'm trying to find out what are the best two metals. All right, so anyway, thank you for being here and leave your comments.